morning, and thank you for tuning in today for this live OREA TV show. I'm David Reid, OREA's 2018 president, and I'm joined by Mr. Tim Hudak, the CEO of the Ontario Real Estate Association.
Well, thank you, David. It's great to be here. Thanks, folks, for tuning in. I got to ask you, we thought our previous broadcast looked a bit like a hostage video, so we upgraded the set.
That's right. I love it. I love it. I finished at about 11:30 last night, but I'm really pleased. It's looking great.
You are a talented man, I got to tell you. Folks, thanks very much for tuning in. The President, David Reid, and I are here to show you the ideas that we're putting in front of Premier Doug Ford and the Minister of Government and Consumer Services, our Minister, the Honourable Todd Smith. And the goal of this plan for Premier Ford and Minister Smith, our ideas we heard from you to raise our industry's professional standards, create tougher disciplinary measures, and more demanding real estate education.
That's right. Tim, you'll remember the 2018 reality conference, and when we were out there together, we stood in front of 900 members. I said that it's too easy to get into this profession, and it's too hard to get kicked out. And I meant that. And today, we're following through on our promise to raise the bar on professional standards by updating the rules that govern our profession. Those rules are found in the Real Estate Business Brokers Act, or Rebba as most of us know it. And when Rebba first passed 16 years ago, Tim, that was in the era of fax machines. They didn't even have smartphones. And you know what? A lot has happened in that time. Tremendous change, and it's time for legislation to catch up with the modern real estate market.
So before David and I get into the details, let me tell you where this all came from. So under our President, David Reid, we set up the Rebba Review Task Force. Now this was made up of salespeople, brokers, broker managers, brokers of record. We had people from the big brands to the small independents in every region of the province. It was a great and dedicated crew, very ably captained by our director, John Meehan, as a task force chair. So Captain Meehan took his team and they did a deep dive into the act to uncover all the areas that needed updating. And they put together 4 really good, what we called white papers, that contained dozens of suggestions for improvement and reform. And then they took that to the membership. So they consulted OREA members on every single proposal. And David, we actually had 4,000 realtor responses to this, which is the biggest ever participation from our membership, by the way. So the task force looked at all the advice that came back, and they put together this final product. It's a report that presents a roadmap to what will be the highest real estate standards in North America. So that's why, appropriately, we're calling it Roadmap to a New Rebba, making Ontario the North American leader in real estate professionalism.
Yeah, and that report focuses on recommendations for strengthening the 3 pillars of professionalism in our industry. Number 1 is professional standards and ethics. Number 2, enforcement. And number 3, education. In fact, we released our recommendations on the education just this morning. And the basis of these recommendations is more demanding education that will create real estate professionals who are more practice ready once they enter the field. The truth is, our industry has been falling behind because the education standards set by the Real Estate Council of Ontario, frankly, are a little outdated. And RICO is currently working with the new registration education provider, NIIT Canada, and Humber College to create the updated real estate education curriculum. So the timing, Tim, of our recommendations, we think are pretty timely and extremely important, and it couldn't be better. But you know what? They're bold, but they're necessary. For example, we need more training in the classroom. We've heard that a lot instead of online. We also need standalone specialty courses to properly educate and prepare new registrants specializing in areas like condos, industrial and rural, and waterfront properties. And before any changes to education are enforced, RICO's really has to consult with the real estate community on just how real estate education curriculum, and who knows what makes for a better practice-ready salesperson, better than the people who've already gone through the registration education program and who have a few years of working experience. It makes so much sense.
The exact same thing is true for experienced realtors who are required to take continuing education courses every year. Now that's a good thing, but I think we all agree that the bar is far too low when it comes to continuing education. At least part of the continuing education courses should be in the classroom. I mean, that's how realtors learn best. And it's also a way to make sure the person who is taking the test is actually really the realtor who's qualifying and being registered. Another idea, RICO should also put continuing education back in the hands of educators. I mean, teaching and education is not a core competency of a regulator typically. It's complex, and it's hard for a regulator to come up with and deliver an ongoing training program that is required for professionals, particularly in such a fast-paced industry like real estate is. And finally, RICO should really recognize professional designations. Let me give you some examples. There are a lot of realtors, many watching today, who worked really hard to achieve professional designations like CCIM, the Certified Commercial Investment Member, or the RAIC, the Royal Architecture Institute of Canada. Like, that takes a lot of work. You got to study hard. You got to keep it up. They're not currently recognized by RICO, but they really should be. Taking the initiative to acquire further education and attain designation should be something as a profession we encourage and formally recognize.
Absolutely. You know, a tougher, more rigorous licensing program is the key to making sure that the next generation of real estate professionals are ready to work in today's modern real estate market. You know, home buyers and sellers, they expect nothing less from the people who help them make the biggest financial decision of their lives. You know, they also expect that the professionals guiding them through a real estate transaction are ethical, honest, and representing their best interests at all times. And that's why in our final Rebba report, we dedicate an entire section to recommendations for strengthening consumer protection and raising professional standards during real estate transactions. For starters, the rules around protecting consumers, they need to be black and white. There should be no room for interpretation or any bending of the rules. For instance, there is a gray area in Rebba that currently exists, which allows unlicensed operators to trade in real estate. If you're not registered to trade in real estate, then you shouldn't be trading in real estate or pretending to be a salesperson.
For sure.
Period. Full stop.
For the thousands of home buyers and sellers who put their trust in realtors every day, we owe it to them to rid our industry of any rule breakers and unethical activity in our business. RICO has an important responsibility. They're responsible for penalizing bad actors and making sure consumers are safe from unethical salespeople. The truth is, Ontario needs even tougher penalties than the ones currently in place, and a regulator that is not afraid to throw the book at the small number of agents who are breaking the rules. So here's what we propose. RICO should have the authority to proactively investigate the worst offenders instead of waiting for a complaint to be filed by a consumer or a fellow registrant. Get at them right away. And RICO should also be able to use administrative monetary penalties. It's kind of like traffic tickets to enforce minor offenses like advertising infractions and focus on the real rule breakers out there. And most importantly, RICO should be given the authority to kick violent or fraudulent offenders out of the business altogether and to deny registration to an applicant with any violent criminal or fraudulent convictions over the last 10 years.
Yeah, and just as OREA is accountable to its members, RICO must also do a better job of being accountable to consumers and the realtors who serve them. You know, over the years, RICO suffered from a lack of oversight, some transparency, and an unwillingness to consult with the industry as much as they should. That has to change. The Auditor General of Ontario, they should have the authority to conduct value for money audits of RICO and all its programs to ensure that registrant fees and other sources of revenue are being used efficiently. Furthermore, better checks and balances should be imposed around RICO fee increases. You know, for example, RICO should be required to consult with registrants before any fee increases are imposed. An approval authority over proposed RICO fee increases, that should rest with the Minister of Government Consumer Services. Together, our recommendations will create a stronger, more confident and transparent RICO. And we've got a good relationship with RICO, and we look forward to working with them further too, Tim.
Absolutely. And no doubt, David, you just outlined some really big asks, but nothing good comes easy in life. You got to work hard for it. If accepted by the provincial government, These recommendations, along with several others, will modernize our legislation, will have a higher level of standards for real estate professionals across Ontario, will raise standards, and better protect Ontario home buyers and sellers in what is the biggest transaction of their lives. And it's important to remember, though, that increasing professionalism in real estate is a shared responsibility. All of us in organized real estate must take a more active role in promoting higher standards if we're going to raise the bar in our profession. So to that end, we recommend that there should be a full-time real estate business certificate, diploma, or degree program of at least 2 years in length within the Ontario post-secondary school market. That kind of program will allow students to pursue full-time education, a degree or diploma, and at the same time qualify for registration when they graduate. And graduates of this post-secondary program, they should achieve a real estate-specific professional designation upon completion that is recognized by the industry and by consumers. Having that kind of designation, that will set graduates apart, and over the years, will raise standards. We also recommend that the options for continuing education courses be broadened. Let's allow for greater options for professional development programs beyond the continuing education courses that you can get from RICO. So let me give you an example of that. In British Columbia, professional development programs are delivered through the local real estate boards, and they're directly related to the actual skills and situation realtors encounter every day in the marketplace. I mean, who would know better what's needed than those that are on the streets on a daily basis? Ontario realtors would greatly benefit from a similar program that British Columbia has delivered through the local boards right across the greater province.
Definitely. Professional development has and it continues to be an important service at all levels of organized real estate. The goal to increase professionalism and support individual member success, it underpins the mission statement for all 38 of our local real estate boards. And looking to the future, organized real estate is well positioned to support higher industry standards by taking a more active role in the professional development of its members.
So I think, David, that wraps it up on the major recommendations in the Rebba reform document. So again, those watching at home in their car, if they pulled over to the side of the road, you can see all of this at rebbareform.ca. Again, rebbareform.ca, and you'll see all of our final Rebba recommendations that we put on the desks of the provincial government in the report called Roadmap to a New Rebba, making Ontario the North American leader in real estate professionalism. And I want to add this too, as the OREA CEO, working with our president and task force chair, John Meehan, together we have achieved a lot. Like, this stuff would not be possible with these bold ideas without the active participation of you, David, our team, and the 4,000 realtors across the province that rolled up their sleeves and got to work and gave us these ideas. So I want to say thanks to all of you for contributing to the process that allows us to carve out the highest professional standards in all of North America.
Well said, Tim. I'll tell you, I also want to thank the Rebba Review Task Force, who spent months reviewing the Act. I'm also thankful to the provincial government for giving us the opportunity to take part in this consultation. We really look forward to continuing to work with the government on this an extremely important project. And Tim would be remiss if we didn't add thanks to you and the doors that you've really helped open up for us too at Queen's Park. It's been a real concerted effort by a lot of people, including the 4,000 people that have submitted responses. So it's exciting to be here today to share it and also moving forward. And at this point, we want to open it up to questions from some of our live audience. Our OREA's VP of Public Affairs and Communications, Mr. Matthew Thornton. He's moderating the questions today. So, Matt, do we have any questions of us today?
We do, David. First question is from Rick, and Rick is asking, who is going to take over the courses when the OREA College closes?
Do you want to do this one?
Sure, you go ahead. Yeah, that's fine.
Did Rick say who he wants to answer that question?
Is there a last name?
So basically, thanks, Rick, for that question. The way this is working is we'll be handing off the program for registration to NIIT. NIIT is a company from India. Their North American headquarters are in Atlanta. Their expertise is in professional training, but this is the first real estate one that they're going to do. and they've partnered with Humber College, and Humber will be the bricks and mortar. Beginning in July of 2019, so what's that, 9 months down the road, they'll start offering courses. We'll close the front door, meaning no new students will come into the OREA program after April 30th. Those that are in the pipeline, that are here, are part of our school, they'll continue to finish their program with OREA, and then we'll close the back door, have everybody through by December 31st of 2020, and NIIT and Humber will be the delivery agent for the extent of the contract. The last thing I'll add to that, Rick, is I think at the end of the day, a good model will be if there's competitive delivery after that program is done. So RICO could set the standards that we've talked about. There'll be multiple service providers that hit those standards, and I love the notion of having real estate education at a college or university level as well.
No, I agree. I think that's an exciting roadmap forward. So.
Great, thanks for the response. Quick question on tax fairness for realtors. Can you provide an update on where that's at in the legislature?
I'll give a quick one on this, and
Sure.
I know this has been a big one for David Reid as our president. You know, when I was a kid, I'm the child of two teachers. Yeah. My dad had to be a principal, my mom was a special needs teacher. And I wake up every day, they go through my homework and they mark it up. And if I did really well on a project, they'd give me a rainbow fish sticker because I love fish. So I get the rainbow fish sticker. So when it comes to tax fairness for realtors, that's a rainbow sticker. So it's part of the report, but I got a rainbow sticker. So it's also a standalone priority. So I'm happy to say that an MPP from Sarnia-Lambton, Bob Bailey, he actually has a private member's bill for tax fairness for realtors. Last time when Todd Smith had it, it got to the top of the mountain, but then sadly the House recessed and it didn't get any time at committee to be debated for a final time. We hope with Bob Bailey that will happen. It's taking place next Thursday, which is what, the 18th?
I believe something like that.
So if anybody, if you're listening, you're watching, if you can come to the Ontario legislature and be there, I tell you as a former MPP, when you see realtors up there in the audience, you see how important it is to them and the people they fight for. It makes a big impression and helps the vote. So please look to do that.
No, that's great. So hopefully, just to reiterate, if you can make it down to Queen's Park, let us know. We'd love to have you there.
Right. Question from Tony. Why limit the ban on registration for persons convicted of violent offenses to just 10 years?
Why limit the ban?
Yeah, so you're
Yeah,
saying like why not make it 20 years in the past?
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, I think that's what he means. So again, that point, I'm glad that you caught that, Tony. So what our Rebba task force came up with, because right now, believe it or not, even if you have a violent or fraudulent offense in your history, you can still apply for registration. Now,
Yeah.
hopefully RICO denies that registration. They look at that closely, but you know, to me, and I think to our
And
task
me,
force, there you
and
go.
most of everybody else, it's reasonable.
Yeah, that's saying that if you've got a violent or fraudulent offense, that you should not be allowed to register. Now, the task force suggested 10 years. We'll put that before government. Tony, if you have ideas for even longer than 10 years in the past, 20, I think the basic thing is to get the government's attention to say, what? That's crazy, and to make that change.
Great. And last question, gentlemen. Last question for the day. What are the next steps now that the OREA recommendations have been submitted?
Next steps.
We basically go to work.
Yeah,
We put you to
Yeah, I was going
task.
to say, what else? Yeah, absolutely. We've got a real body of work that's been done, and at this point, one of the things we can do is to really get you to look at this, rebbareform.ca. It's about education, as we're pushing forward with what we're doing at this level. But it's important, it's for all of us. You know, it's a chance to really make some changes. It hasn't been updated 15, 16 years. So by all means, check out rebbareform.ca. Go through those. You just heard us talk about some of the highlights, but it's important that you get well versed on this. And if you have any comments, don't forget, send them to governmentrelations@orea.com. Any other comments that you have, any other feedback, we're listening. That's why we're here. We're here for you. You know, we're over 70,000 members strong, and that's a lot of voices. And we look forward to moving this down the line. And we've had some great work with Chairman John Meehan and the Rebba Task Force, and we look forward to getting this done.
The only thing I'd add to that too is folks probably remember when the government was threatening to impose mandatory energy audits for listing a home, and we all know in the business that would be crazy and would impact on people who could get ripped off by an unethical practitioner. These types of energy auditors aren't regulated like realtors are, or lose value. So what we did was we actually put leaders like Dave, we put our actual realtors in front of the ministers and the MPPs. and they explained how these things impact in real life on the streets of our province. So next step 2 is to use that with David and our board and our realtor volunteers from our 38 member boards to meet with their MPPs. Having been there, this is important to us. It's important for the province. The goal is to make sure those MPPs understand that we need the legislative time to get this done. So when we call our realtors to our PAC, our Realtor Party Conference at the end of November, this could be high on the agenda so you can go to work and convince those politicians to do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, just before we let you all go, I know how busy this time of year is for realtors. I just want to remind you to take a moment, email your MPP, ask them to help make home ownership affordable for Ontario home buyers. The OREA's Keep the Dream Alive campaign, it continues this month, and we need your help to put the issue of affordable home ownership on every MPP's agenda. You know, policymakers, they're making decisions right now about the issues they'll be focusing their efforts on for the next 4 years. We have an opportunity here, folks, to put home ownership on their list of priorities, but we need your help. Please go to keepthedreamalive.ca and email your MPP. It's simple. It takes about 30 seconds to do so. The letters are already there for you. Just pick the one that best describes your situation, type in your postal code, and hit send. It's easy as that. You know, it's truly amazing what we can do for our profession and home buyers and sellers when we work together. And together we're raising professional standards. It's one of the things we wanted to talk about today. In our industry, together, I'm certain that we can influence policies that will help keep home ownership within reach for future generations. Once again, the website to email your MPP is keepthedreamalive.ca. With that, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. I'd also like to thank Tim for being here and your leadership, which is a blessing for all of us, and we thank you for all of your work.
My pleasure. Great team.
It absolutely is. So,
well, fabulous job, David. Thank you very much. Thank you for your leadership as president, driving this process. I mean, those who were at the reality conference, as David said back in February, they saw our president lay it on the line when he said it's too easy to get in the profession, and when you break the rules, too hard to kick somebody else out. That's exactly what our Rebba reform does. Thank you for your leadership. And folks, thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great day.